This is The Gorge. It's a podcast where my friend Sarah and I gorge ourselves at overanalyzing a topic. And Sarah, what are we talking about this week?
This week we're pulling the, in case of we don't know what to talk about, break glass. We're pulling that lever that's behind the glass because we didn't know any games that are coming out. I'm trying to be cheap. It's not indie week. So we pulled one of those levers and we're talking about Baccano. And it's pronounced that way, by the way. I looked it up. This anime came out in, doodly-doo. Why didn't I look this up a second ago?
Like 2008, I think?
Old.
2007, 2008, I want to say.
Something like that, yeah.
I watched it in college, so.
Yeah, so it's the 2008 anime, yeah. Baccano. Oh god, no, it's 2007. I'm so old. Time is relentless. I am already turning to dust as we talk about this. Yeah. The one of my favorite anime, maybe ever.
It's one of, okay, so like, every so often you'll run into the thing where it's like, hey, I want to get into anime, what do I watch? And all they've watched is like Western media, you know?
Yeah.
Like, when you run into that, the three that I pick are...
Cowboy Bebop, Full Metal Alchemist, and Baccano?
Yes, obviously, those three.
Yeah, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, Cowboy Bebop, and Baccano, 100%. Mm-hmm. So, Baccano actually, I was thinking about this before we started recording. Baccano actually has a kind of a story between, like, us and, like, an extended friend group we've been in for, like, 12 years. So, back in the day, back when 4chans were, like, a thing, there was an offshoot of 4chan called Plus 4chan, and what had happened was Hulu at the time would let you just watch all of Baccano for free, and it ran like that for like 2 months, and everybody on that board watched Baccano, and it just kind of became like everybody's favorite show, and there's a reason for that. And it's because this little 16-episode anime is one of, like, the best I've ever seen. It's... like, every time. It's so good.
It's phenomenal. It's incredible how good this series is. Like,
yeah.
like, if you didn't know that it was based on a series of light novels... Mm-hmm. You would have no idea that there was any more because it's such a good self-contained story, you know?
And that's good because season 2 is fucking never. Yeah, no, it's, it is just so shockingly good. It is 16 episodes. I literally binged the whole show today. And the thing is that I've seen this series, like, I don't know. This will probably be my 8th viewing, if I had to guess. My 7th or 8th viewing of the whole series. So I actually probably didn't need to rewatch it for this podcast. I just wanted to. And I have seen this show so many times, and I was still like, okay, but one more episode.
Right?
Okay, but one more episode. Like I don't need to clean today. I just need to watch Baccano because it's that good. You know?
Yeah, it's so, like, the pacing and the style and, like, how like, well structured the entire story is.
Yes. It's incredible. It's incredible, right? Like, oh, go ahead.
I was, like, this show feels like it's, like, 10 years ahead of its time, you know?
It is. It's just really brilliant. It has such tight pacing. It has smart character writing. The music is catchy. It has one of the best OPs ever made. Like, everything about Baccano just kind of contributes to its tiny little greatness. And it's weird because, you know, it's not the series that got a sequel. Durarara, I don't know how it's pronounced. It did. It got like 5 seasons, which proves there's no justice in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, you know, Baccano is just it's so well made, and the problem is that it is kind of a hard sell, because Baccano has the slowest 3 first episodes, ever.
I don't even know about it being a hard sell. Like, I don't even think that. I think you think the first few episodes are slow because you know it's coming.
Maybe. That might be it. That could be it. I've just always heard that complaint.
But I was thinking about it, and like, especially nowadays, like, if Netflix is looking for anime to get, they should get Baccano.
Yes.
Because, hey, what's really popular right now is, like, gangster shows.
And binging.
Like, yeah, being able to binge a series and, like, time, or, like, period piece gangster stuff in the 30s or 40s, and stuff that has a lot of characters.
Yeah, that's true.
And, like presented in ways that, like, you can talk about, you know? Like,
yeah.
This series is perfect for Netflix, and the fact that it's not available on anything right now is a crime.
It is such... I was talking to Saturn after Big Gay Nerds today, and I was, like, saying, like, hey, we're talking about Baccano on The Gorge tonight, and they were like, oh, that's cool. Where do you watch it? And I was like, nowhere.
You don't?
You don't? I own the DVDs. That's how I watch it. That's literally your only option is, and that also speaks to the quality of Baccano, by the way. I own the DVD box set for this show.
Mm-hmm.
I own the DVD box set for maybe 3 other shows. But I wanted to specifically have this show to be able to watch whenever I want. And it is massively worth. I don't even know how much it costs on Amazon these days, but if it's kind of cheap-ish, you should buy it. Because it is incredibly worth your time. Just everything about this show is it's so well made and just expertly paced and plotted and has incredible characters.
And
yeah.
And if you forget them, don't worry, because the first episode will remind you of their names every time. And it's helpful, actually.
It's actually genius. There's 2 things, actually, that was in my notes, and it's a good time to start this. There are 2 things about the OP that make it, like, fucking genius. One is, obviously, by the end of the show, you will know every major character's name because you have no choice. It's in the OP, and the OP is catchy and good enough that you will watch it every time. The other thing is that they incentivize you to watch the OP every time because after Chane cuts the screen, it will do a previously on Baccano thing, but it doesn't show you what happened in the last episode. It shows you what is relevant to the current episode.
Yes!
So, if there's gonna be a threat, if, like, the episode is gonna be about, like, Luck, then it will show you stuff that happened to Luck in the past, you know?
Mm-hmm. That's genius. That's, like... So this show is great because, like, it does those kinds of things that other shows do nowadays, but, like, over seasons, where it's like, oh, they're showing a flashback to season 2 in the previously on.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh!
Well, but this show does it in 16 episodes.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it brilliant. And it's little short things. It's just like, hey, you've been watching this show and we assume you've been paying attention. But remember that thing is going to be relevant now.
Yeah.
And it's smart. And that's why the OP is incredible.
It's a good, like, getting you prepared for what's coming. And, you know, assuming that the episode titles themselves don't prepare you for what's coming.
Lad Russo talks a lot and slaughters a lot is still my favorite. They're all really good.
What was it? Jacuzzi Splod gets scared, cries a lot in someone's reckless valor. Oh
no! My favorite one is Czeslaw Mayer's. Wait! I want to get this one perfect. It's. Hold on. Czeslaw Mayer is forced to rework his Tremble Before the Spectre of Immortal strategy. That's my favorite one. Because it's really good. But yeah, how do we do this? How do we talk about this? Like,
I mean,
in an effective way.
Like, I was thinking, like, do we divide it by episodes? Do we divide it by characters? But, like, there isn't really a way to...
Yeah.
I think we just kind of have to do what Baccano itself does, which is just kind of go out of order...
Jump around
and let itself piece together over time.
Yeah, that's true. So I guess we'll start with the most important part in my notes, because it's in all caps and bolded, which is the world's greatest dub, except no substitutes.
Right. Okay. So, like, everyone talks about how, like, Cowboy Bebop is, like, a legendary dub.
Yeah.
And, like, Baccano is, like, leagues ahead of like anything I've ever watched. Like, it's incredible how good this dub is.
The deal is that it's a 2-factor thing in my mind. Like, because the other 2 legendary dubs are, what a coincidence, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood and Cowboy Bebop. Those are the 2 other legendary dubs. Wow, it's amazing. But Baccano is leagues ahead of those 2, even with Troy Baker being in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, because, like, you can still watch, like, Cowboy Bebop in Japanese, and I've seen Cowboy Bebop in Japanese. It's pretty good. And, like, the voice actors in Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood are really iconic, too. You know, like, the famous voice actors that play, like, Ed and Al. They're, you know, everybody knows them. But Baccano works because it's set in 1930s America. Right. Yes, of course. This is the only time it makes more sense for it to be dubbed.
And, like, this is one of those things where, like, yeah, you get a lot of anime that are set in, like, America or anything, but, like, Baccano feels like, it feels like an American production.
It definitely, and it's, I mean, you know, we could talk all day about maybe that's what contributed to it doing less well, because, I mean, yeah, anime still lives and dies by its sales in the Japanese market. Like, the American market doesn't matter. Like, yeah, obviously. And that's why Durarara, whatever the fuck it's called, succeeded where Baccano failed. You know, that's the kind of thing we could talk about all day. But this show really does, like, feel kind of like the way Big O did. Like, the first season of Big O was a Japanese production, but it felt like an American production. And then the subsequent seasons were American productions.
Right.
And Baccano feels the same way. It has a lot of, you know, there's occasionally little moments where you're like, Japanese people made this game. Jeez, I'm still in that mode. This anime. The big one standing out is when Isaac pops out is his Professor Moriarty costume, and it's basically a tokusatsu intro.
Like a Sentai, like...
Yeah. That's... Those little moments, you're like, I see you, Baccano. But otherwise, no, it has a lot of verisimilitude is a word I use a lot on this podcast, and it definitely has that going for it, where it feels like they did a lot of research, and that's because they did.
What was I about to say? Like, the dub feels this good for a lot of the same reasons that I think everyone should watch Beck in Japanese.
Yeah.
Because the language and the way the dub is done is that, like, they do the accents, they have the slang, and they're good with, like, being accurate to the time period and the way people would talk back then. For much the same way that, like, part of the reason that Beck is so good is because in the Japanese version, the language barrier does exist, and characters not being able to understand each other or characters switching languages halfway through is kind of part of the realism of the series.
Yeah.
So, like, the dub feels more grounded that way, and, like, it would be weird to hear these characters speak Japanese.
Yeah.
Because they feel so American.
They are. They are very good kind of broad strokes of American characters as rendered by Japanese people, which I think is really interesting. Like, Lad Russo is probably the best example of this, and Lad Russo is not counting Isaac and Miria, because they're kind of in, like, their own category, you know? Like, the question of who is your favorite Baccano character is always Isaac and Miria. So really what you're asking is, who's your second favorite Baccano character? And Lad Russo is my third favorite Baccano character, because Lad is amazing. Lad is this incredible... I mean, again, Brian Massey is his dub actor, and Brian Massey is just knocks it out of the park every single time.
He crushes it with just this raw intensity and this that gruff voice, but still coming out with this, like, booming, like every syllable enunciated performance. That the bit where he is beating the black suit guy to death in the train car.
God, and such a good scene.
and he's just like talking about how he's name dropping boxers and
you're not even a Jack you're barely a Jack Johnson. You think you're Jack Dempsey? Yeah.
And he's doing like he's ranting about like every red-blooded American should know these guys. And every like syllable is emphasized with like a punch to the face, and it's so good. He gets all these really great lines about he's gonna dance on your body like he's goddamn Bojangles.
I actually have that in my notes because I love that line so much. And obviously Ladd gets like the funniest line in the show, which is "Thank you, fuck you, the star has arrived." It's one of the best lines in the show. Everybody knows that line from Baccano.
Mm-hmm.
And Ladd is such a good example of, like I was saying, American characters writ with large strokes by Japanese people, because he is like so like big and boisterous, and he's blonde-haired and blue-eyed like every typical American person in any like, you know, like moe school story. But he's like this big force, and he's so psychotic, and he's completely unhinged, and he just takes up the whole screen, and the only character who has more screen presence than him is, you know, somebody else we'll talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
But Ladd is just, he's so good. I mean, he gets all the good fight scenes too. Like, Ladd just rules, man.
But the thing about Ladd is that, you like you said, he is that like American character in a Japanese series.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, I could see a real actor playing that character.
Oh, 100%.
Like doing the exact same things that he does.
Baccano is probably the only anime that I actually wouldn't mind a live action adaptation for Netflix.
Right? Like that's the one you go to is do Baccano, because it's so like it's not grounded in reality, but like all of the characters are so human.
Yeah.
That you can totally do that. You
can 100% pull it off, and it would just be I think it could be really great. You know, but fine. Like, just the character writing itself in this show is, you would think with such a massive cast, everybody who has a name in the credits, or in the opening, I guess I should say, everybody whose name is in the opening would feel underwritten. And yeah, technically the Gandor brothers are, but that's kind of the point. Like, Luck is the main character in that story, sort of. I guess technically Eve is the main character in the story, and this is our first tangent. Like I said before, I really wish we could have like a John Boyce style Sara goes off on a tangent counter in the corner, or like a ding every time I go off on a tangent. Because if I had to say there was one weak part of Baccano, it's that the 1932 plot kind of sucks compared to the others, and fortunately it's like a really small portion of the whole show, and it's woven in so well that like the 1932 parts of the story are integrated so well that they're very small little bite-sized chunks in what is otherwise like a really bombastic episode.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of, I guess that works in a way, because 1932 becomes like your breather storyline, you know?
A little bit, yeah. It's kind of separate. Like there isn't really a tying factor between the Gandors and Eve directly to the Flying Pussyfoot, you know?
Right, but it does tie back to like the original, what is that, 1929? 1930?
The 1930 story arc with Firo.
Yeah. It ties back to that, but it doesn't really connect to the Pussyfoot in any way, which is not, which isn't, like, 1930 connects to the Flying Pussyfoot, which is 1931.
Mm-hmm.
Like, those two intersect really well.
Yeah.
You know, especially, mostly because of, like, Isaac and Miria and stuff like that.
But you're seeing a lot of recurring characters in the 1930 story, in the 1931 story, but you are getting more intersection between 1930 and 1932 than you are 1932 and 1931.
Yeah, absolutely. And like if you just took a cut and put it in chronological order of all the 1932 stuff, It would be so fucking dull in comparison.
What I want to do one day is, not one day, it'll probably take me like a year to do, but I want to put Baccano in chronological order.
You could do it. Yeah, it would probably take a year, but you could put Baccano in chronological order. But the problem is that, God, the show would end on such a boring note if you ended it in 32. I guess not technically, because the whole OVA is set in 32. It is actually happening concurrently with the Luck and Eve storyline, which rules, because it's like, oh, at least something cool is happening to somebody else. And the other problem, and I guess what is part of the problem, is that if you have any knowledge of the light novels, which I don't think you really do, right?
I mean, like, I skimmed the TV tropes page, and it's like, this character was here, and I'm like, I don't know who that is, actually.
Yeah, okay. The thing about 1932 is that it's way cooler in the light novel, because Gustavo and Luck actually, like, fight, and Luck shanks Gustavo with his own broken arm bone, which is pretty cool. That's pretty dope, actually. It's pretty rad. So if you have any knowledge of how that story goes in the light novel, you're watching the anime version of it, you're like, this sucks! Go back to the pussyfoot! So yeah, that's like my only complaint. But it also, I guess, works technically, because like I said, those are breather segments. Those are like, okay, take a breath. We know things are getting kind of intense over in, 1931, which is when shit really pops off super hard. So we're going to kind of take you over here to see what's going on, but then we're going to take you back. And it's like, I get that. But also, I really want to see Luck Gandor shank somebody in the throat with his own severed arm bone. That's just really cool.
That's dope.
It's dope. You know?
And also, I mean, the 1932 segments aren't helped by the fact that, you kind of don't want them to find Dallas, because
Dallas is a massive piece of shit.
He sucks.
Yeah, I guess that's where we'll go on our journey through Baccano. Dallas Genoard fucking sucks, y'all.
Eve, I know he's your only family, but I mean,
he I don't think Dallas has a single redeeming moment in the entire show.
He almost does. He almost
has, a 2-second sliver where he's, nice to Eve.
And then he throws that away, and then it's it's over, and then you're like, oh, you just suck.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess that's kind of they never really play how Dallas ends up. They never really play it as terribly horrific. It's kind of always treated as a joke.
It's a joke in the OP.
It's a joke in the OP, yeah, where it shows him drowning. And it's they treat it as a joke because obviously Dallas has absolutely no redeemable moments in the entire series. He starts out a huge piece of shit, and he ends a huge piece of shit.
There is that bit at the conclusion of the 1932 arc where Luck is talking to Eve, and he's like, yeah, we did that, and I'm not apologizing because he deserved it.
He 100%, extremely deserved it.
And then they're like, oh, so they're like, oh, can we dig him out? And Luck's like, whatever.
I guess, if you really want to. Do you really want to, bring this guy up? Man, the best part in that show, and, I'm kind of showing my hand here because I keep bringing it up, but Luck is one of my favorite characters, just kind of for no reason, because Luck doesn't really do a lot in the show. I just really like his English voice.
He's so cool. He's
so slick the whole time.
He's so calm, level-headed the entire time, and he's got a cool voice, and just his attitude in general is pretty dope.
He's just kind of a cool guy, and Berga and Keith are cool too. It doesn't ever get brought up, but it's neat because Keith is he never speaks, but he's happily married, and I think that's really cute. He has a wife that he really loves.
Aww.
It never gets brought up in the show, but yeah, Keith has a wife and he adores her, and that's adorable. So I just really like the Gandors, man. Everybody likes the Gandors. But that bit in 1930 where he's telling Dallas what a useless piece of shit he is. where he's just, like, listing off all the reasons why Dallas is useless and, like, why would we hire you? You're just like, yes, somebody's saying it. It's great. I love that part. There's a lot of great scenes like that in this show. So yeah, Dallas Genoard is a huge piece of shit. Like, I mean, really, from start to finish, it's just relentless. But I guess somebody has to be an unlikable asshole other than Zillard Quates.
And the funny thing is, like, Dallas doesn't really do anything that's, like, truly heinous, you know? It's just, he's annoying. And he's not a nice person. And
he's voiced by Ian Sinclair, who voices Zavid in Berseria and Zestiria. And I love him! But it's, like, it's bizarre, too, because Ian Sinclair only has one voice, y'all. So it's weird to go back and forth from those two series. Actually, it's really funny. When I first started Zestiria and Ian Sinclair's voice came out of Zavid, I was like, Dallas, you piece of shit! And then a few years went by and I didn't actually, like, watch Baccano for a few years, and I was like, oh wait, I love Zavid. I love Ian Sinclair. This is fine. And then now I'm, like, rewatching Baccano and I'm like, but Zavid, why? So, that's the beauty of voice acting.
That's the best thing about the dub. The other best thing is that if you are familiar with a lot of Funimation's work, or just a lot of these voice actors in general, because it's such a huge cast, and you get like the big names to do these characters.
Everybody.
And there's a lot of them, and so you're going to be hearing a lot of familiar voices.
It's Todd Haberkorn is Firo, and Monica Rial is, she's Chane, she actually has a couple lines despite being mute. Colleen Clickenbeard is Niece, Caitlin Glass is Miria, J. Michael Tatum is Isaac. I mean, it's just, like, these are huge voice acting names, and they're all in Baccano. Like, bring in their fucking A-game,
right?
Man.
Maxie Whitehead as...
as Cheslaw.
As Cheslaw is amazing.
Oh,
She is so good at switching from, I'm a little boy, to I've lived for 200 years.
Yeah. She has this incredible just... can switch between those two tones just at the drop of a hat, and it's like, wow, that's magic, awesome. And then, like, fucking Jerry Jewell, who is not in enough shit. It's Brian Massey as Lad, Jerry Jewell as Claire. It's like, and it's just bullshit, because Brian Massey and Jerry Jewell really don't have a lot of roles.
No, they don't.
To, like, especially Brian Massey. And I think that's partly because he's also, like, a TV actor, and he has, like, a face for TV. Honestly, Brian Massey could literally play Lad Russo in the Netflix adaptation.
Oh,
like, if you look this dude up, hold on. Like, this dude actually has the face of Lad Russo. It's actually kind of bizarre. And we might have to post this somewhere. I don't know. But, yeah. Hold on. There you go, buddy.
Yeah, he looks like yeah. He could play Lad easily.
He could actually play Lad live action. Like, it's really weird. And I don't know if, like, yeah, but that's a tangent. The voice acting in this show's really good, is the point I'm trying to make. So, like, from, like, Dallas, there's just so much. Oh, the other thing, and this is such a little thing, but whatever, I made note of it. The old woman in episode 2 is Frieza.
If you've watched anything, like, you hear her and you're like, oh, that's Linda Young. And it's like, yeah, that's Frieza. That's
just literally just doing the Frieza voice.
It's funny because completely devoid of that history, like, yeah, she sounds like an old lady voice, right?
Yeah, 100%.
But to you and me, that's just Frieza.
And it's not even like a lady or like a more feminine sounding version of Frieza's voice. No. That's just Frieza's voice coming out of that old lady's mouth.
It's just Frieza going, something terrible is going to happen.
Yeah, it's because you're here, Frieza. You're probably going to blow this planet up too. Thanks.
Well, that's the thing, is you're hearing it and you're just like, oh, there's Winry Rockbell, and...
Yeah. I guess that's a good transition into Isaac and Miria are the greatest characters in anime ever.
So I wrote a note in my notes,
yes.
which is Isaac is the only man in history allowed to mansplain.
Yeah, it's true, because he'll do it wrong, and it's really funny the whole time. Only 87 times? That's right, my love. That means it's far less than 100. Oh yeah, you're right!
They are the most adorable couple in anime history.
They are so charming from start to finish. It is incredible. Like, for as completely irredeemable as Dallas Genuard is, Isaac and Miria are that likable. You know what I mean?
I mean, you can't get any better than the episode that they're named after, which is Isaac and Miria unintentionally spread happiness everywhere they go.
Oh, it's so good.
It's so true. Like,
they just make everybody like happy. It's so amazing to just watch them interact with people. I think so much. I texted you about it in the middle of my rewatch, but that bit at the end where she's telling Ches, like, yeah, it's okay, you can smile again. And I'm just like, they're such good people. It would be so easy in a lesser TV show for Isaac to be a huge piece of shit. You know what I mean?
Right? Yeah. He's, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, Isaac is a lot like a more earnest Reagan.
Yeah. Yeah, I could totally see that. They're both kind of coming from the same place, although, like, Reagan knows he's bullshitting. I do think Isaac believes every word that comes out of his mouth.
Isaac always thinks he's correct.
And of course.
And it's not out of an arrogance thing, it's just that Isaac is stupid. And no one is rude enough to try to correct him.
Because he's a nice, stupid guy, you know?
Because he's clearly having so much fun.
Yeah, that's what it is. And his fun is infectious. I mean, everybody just loves them for it.
There is that one bit where they first meet Jacuzzi and Nice, and they're like, "Come on, friend, it's all you can eat Chinese food," and the cook is like, "No, it's not."
No, it's not. This show, I have watched it so many times that, like, certain lines just kind of, like, haunt my brain. I will think of them randomly at 2:00 in the morning because I'm just, like, my brain will just go, hey, how about that part in Baccano where the cook goes, no, it's not? And I'm just like, because the way he reads that line is so funny. Or, just, like, I think of Isaac's amazing, you know, I've got a gun in my heart, and he does the two, like, amazing, just, like, finger guns motions. I was literally watching this today and saying lines along with it, because I've seen it that many. I mean, I literally have parts of the show memorized, because I have seen it so many times.
And also because these lines are just so well written, and they're performed so well, they immediately click with you, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, what did I send you one that was just, like, I was texting you the whole time, because I was just so, like, emotional. I was just like, oh my god, I love this show so much.
There's, I mean, like, everything that Isaac and Miria say is just immediately, the bit
solid gold.
Where they're talking about, or Isaac's talking about, eating beef is vegetarian because cows eat plants, and so when you're eating beef, you're eating the plants that they ate.
Isaac, you're so smart.
and how if you find a bag, the contents of the bag are yours because you found the bag.
That's totally how it works.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of, like, Lad going, there is no God in this cruel, cruel world anymore. Vicky went and killed him. I just know it. It's so funny. But no, Isaac and Miria, they're constant, like, the part where Eve is crying and they're like, a lover maybe he's already passed on. You hear Miria go, tragic love. It's just, they're coming from such a good place.
They are.
They come from such a place of kindness at all times, and I don't even mind that Miria is the subject of pretty much the only titty joke in the entire anime, because it's genuinely hilarious. Like, because she's so Miria that she doesn't even notice that, like, Jacuzzi is, like, face first in her boobs, and it's not really played for, like, fan service, it's just, like, a funny joke, so it's, like, genuinely hilarious.
She's just happy like, that Jacuzzi's okay.
You're okay! And Jacuzzi's just got a face full of boob. It's so funny.
Because it's preceded by the joke where, he's gone, but I can still hear his voice while he's
telling people I'm dead.
While he is screaming their names and charging at them.
Are you guys okay? Yeah. Also, the bit where they're imagining Jacuzzi getting eaten by the rail tracer, and it's just a giant snake. It's endless. I was just like rewatching this show and just like cracking up at all of the same bits.
I genuinely think the funniest joke in the entire series is when Firo is getting inducted in. Mm-hmm. And the mob boss is like, I will now fire off the ceremonial pistol. And he fires it, and everyone's cheering, and they're having a great time. And very quietly, you can hear, "Oh no, Isaac's dead!"
Because these extremely serious mafia guys all just stop and go like, "Wait, what?" And then the best part is they look at the boss who fires the ceremonial pistol, like, "What did you just do?"
And then the hostess just runs down. It's like,
there's a problem with one of the customers. And he didn't even get hurt. It just shot his hat.
It's the funny, because you don't get context until later on. All you just like, the scene plays out normally, and you just very quietly hear, "Oh my God, Isaac's dead!" And then it just moves on, and you're like, wait, was that Miria? What happened?
And then later, you get the excellent, like, setup and payoff of, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize you were a priest and a sister.
Right?
Oh, that's another line I quote at people all the time. For carelessness, there is no excuse. No excuse for carelessness. Just endless. Oh, God. This show is so good because it is a lot like Full Metal Alchemist. I think that's what makes shows like Baccano and Cowboy Bebop and FMA, like, great, is they juggle their tone with such a deft hand.
Yeah.
FMA is really famous for being able to tell jokes in, like, the most deadly serious of places, and Cowboy Bebop kind of walks that fine line of action and comedy at all times.
Like I think with Cowboy Bebop, it's not so much a balancing of tone, because, like, Baccano and FMA are way more prone to getting silly than Cowboy Bebop is. But I really think Cowboy Bebop's strength is that its whole motto is easy come, easy go.
Yeah,
and so it's just like, it's very blasé about the events that are happening. So yeah, it's good at keeping its established tone no matter what's happening.
Yeah, so you can have, like, you can have episodes. There's no episode in Bebop that feels out of place.
Yeah.
So you can have an episode that's about everybody tripping balls on mushrooms, and then an episode that's as deadly as serious as, like, you know, Ballad of Fallen Angels or something like that. Mm-hmm. And none of it feels out of place. And that's also, and Baccano really does just do a great job of managing these tones of, like, kind of three different anime, because you have, like, the comedy stuff with Isaac and Miria being, like, these lovable con artists. You have, like, the mobster stuff, and it is played pretty straight, like, just genuine mobs, like, mob politics that are affected by some people's immortality. And then you have what is basically a horror anime as well, like, kind of an action horror sort of thriller. series with, like, when they're on the Advena Avis and when the Rail Tracer is doing his fucking thing.
Okay. So, like, real quick, I just want to, before I forget about this.
Yeah.
Watching Baccano again, I'm like, oh, that's why I liked Obra Dinn so much.
Oh, man! Yeah, because the Advena Avis is just like a fucking, like... that's just what Obra Dinn is!
Because that whole episode, I was just like... Because I was like, oh, I like this series, I like this game because it was a cool mystery game. But then I'm like, wait, no. A big pirate ship with a mysterious crew, like a crew and, like, subtle magic things and... Oh, that's where it came from.
Yeah. Obra Dinn has finally scratched the itch of episode 7 of Baccano, which is, I like episode 7 of Baccano for 2 reasons. One, it's just like a really good episode that explains the backstory of these characters in a very succinct way. And 2, it's when the budget jumps, like, really high.
Yeah.
Because the animation after episode 7 is really solid. And, like, I never thought the animation in Baccano was bad. It's just kind of like, you know, your standard TV quality anime. Mm-hmm. Until episode 7.
And, you know, this isn't a show that you need a really strong budget for.
Yeah,
it's not a Mob Psycho, you know?
It's,
it has some good fight scenes, but its fight scenes are very grounded in reality, so you don't need to go extreme with them.
Yeah, it's Showa Genroku Rakugo Shinju is another anime that's kind of like that, because it's more about, like, characters and, like, a place in time. Actually, it's kind of analogous to this in, like, a completely weird way, just that it's set in, like the, you know, a period piece set in, like, the 20s, 30s, and 40s, and it's more about character interactions, and it has very simple animation style, but it works, and it's a good show. I think I've talked about it on here before. I really like Rakugo. But, yeah, Baccano doesn't have, like the best animation, but it doesn't really need to. And also it was made in a period before, like, the ubiquity of Blu-rays and stuff. Mm-hmm. So, you know, it wasn't quite standard def, but it wasn't quite in, like, the true high def era yet. Again, this is 2007, 2008. So this was on, like, smaller TVs. It didn't need to look as good because nobody was going to analyze it to the same degree as we do now. But then even after episode 7, just the quality of the art for the character models jumps up, and I think Baccano has there are certain shots in Baccano, the show, that look exactly like, the artist for this is an artist named Katsumi Inami. There are certain shots in the show that look exactly like, Inami's art style, and it's really impressive. It's just like a really good looking show, man. Like, yeah, it has a great color palette. It has really good lighting. It just kind of knows when to step up. It knows when to step up.
It also, like, in all honesty, it manages to use CG in a way that, like, doesn't stand out crazy high.
Yeah, like the hallways for the Pussyfoot and the actual engine itself.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you can kind of tell those are CG, but, like, it's not Gogeta in the Broly movie.
yeah, exactly. It's way more subdued, and just, has just a good art style. Art style will carry you a very long way, because this show has a really good style to it, so that even when the animation kind of looks a little bit more rudimentary. And not rudimentary, I just want to say more simple. Or scaled back, I guess. It still looks good, because, you know, it just has a cool look to it. I just really like the art style in this show, like, a lot. Mm-hmm.
But that was a tangent, going back to your point about the different tones that the series has, where it goes from comedy to mafia, politics, to thriller,
straight up horror. To straight up thriller horror, and lots of... What does this show have against hands?
It does not like arms, no. The biggest establishing moment in the first episode is Firo losing 2 fingers.
3 fingers.
And, it is 3.
It's 3. He gets all 3 cut off. And Oof. First time. So I have, like, a thing against, like, bad things happening to hands. And I think it is because, like, I draw. It's, like, my thing. So I've always just been like, no. And then I watched this show and I was like, oh, no! And it literally never stops. The Baccano drinking game at the very top of the list is take a shot every time something bad happens to somebody's fingers. It'll ruin your life.
There's, like... And because they're immortal, they get to do the thing where they can brutalize the immortal characters as much as they want because they're immortal and they'll regenerate.
And boy, do they ever!
There are some limbs coming off, and there is fingers coming off, and eyeballs,
and eyeballs, and faces getting grinded off by railroad tracks. And they just show that. They're just like, hey, cool, we have a late night time slot. This show aired at like 12 a.m. in Japan when it first came out. We've got a late night time slot. We're gonna go fucking buck wild with it. So you have that real great shot when Lad finds Dune, and they're saying, "Oh, Dune, you poor faceless bastard," and they just show a full shot of just Dune's face completely sanded off. So that's cool. I'm like, ugh, this is rough. It's still really good.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Yeah, no, and it's like, there's some genuine moments in this where it's like actually kind of spooky. That first time the black suit guy sees the rail tracer, and he sees him as like a horrible monster, like this shadow creature that just like looms up and wraps around his friend and then drags him back out into the night, and it's like, that's really good. It's actually kind of spooky. I wish I could watch the show again for the first time.
Right.
To like try to remember how I felt the first time I watched Baccano, because I have a lot of just like, I remember certain things like really, really shocking me, and I think the actual monster was one of them, where I was like, hold on, I know there's like immortals and shit, but you're telling me there's like fucking monsters and stuff now too?
You're like, it's like, you're telling me this rail tracer thing is actually happening. This is wait, you mean Isaac's right?
Isaac was right. He kind of was right. There's no actual monsters, but like so I guess since we're talking about Pussyfoot, you want to talk about how great Jacuzzi Splot is?
Yeah, absolutely I do. That kid's awesome.
That kid's so cool. He's so cool. Like, even for being like a huge fucking crybaby, he's just genuinely like a cool character, you know? I'm thinking of when he's like, when he's telling, I got so mad about them killing 8 of my friends that I knocked over 18 of their speakeasies. Isaac's like, that must have taken all month. No, it only took a day.
He's so great. I love the character archetype of just like the really unassuming, quiet one who is in charge.
Yeah, and you're like, why is he in charge? And then you really find out why Jacuzzi is in charge. It's because he's got a heart of gold, and he just wants to help everyone, but will also, just like everybody else in this show, fucking murder you. He
is also ruthless as all hell.
Oh man, it's so good. Just like the part where he's just the whole fight with him and Goose is really great.
Right? Goose has a fucking flamethrower.
And my boy is not even, like, bothered.
Right?
He gets punched in the gut with, like a literal handgun. Get it?
Yeah, like one of those things that was in Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, yeah! Oh, man. I forgot all about that until just now. Hey!
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino stole that idea from Baccano.
Get Quentin Tarantino to do the Baccano anime. He'll have a fucking field day.
Oh, God. Oh, man. That would be something else.
Could you fucking imagine seeing, like, Netflix presents Baccano directed by Quentin Tarantino?
That would be pretty bonkers, actually. Yeah. Yeah, and it is weird, because this show is obviously told in, like, a non-linear timeline. Mm-hmm. Which is pretty Pulp Fiction and a little bit Reservoir Dogs. Like, Yeah, that would actually be really interesting. It's obvious that the show is cribbing in some elements from Tarantino. It is kind of like a weird Full Metal Alchemist meets Quentin Tarantino show. I guess that's my elevator pitch for this if I ever want somebody to watch it.
Right, like, there you go.
It's Quentin Tarantino and Full Metal Alchemist, and if that doesn't interest you, you need to get the fuck out of my face. But Jacuzzi is great. No, Jacuzzi gets the only on-screen kiss in the whole show, and it's excellent.
It's the best.
Because he just does it so, like, out of nowhere.
He's so cool about it, you know? It's
like,
just
you have no right to be so cool about that.
And it's like, oh, yeah, that's just how they are. Then she's like, no, that was the first time Jacuzzi ever kissed me. And Nick's like, you've been together for 10 years.
I didn't know you were such a round heels boss. That was our first kiss.
Oh, okay. Can I just say that, like, on this viewing, I really got to actually appreciate how big Donnie is.
Donnie is so huge.
Like, I don't know if I just, like, never really
never absorbed. Yeah.
Yeah, I never really fully absorbed, like, how giant that man is. But, like, when him and Jacuzzi are, like, trying to walk through the hallway, and he has to like shift himself through
because he fills like the whole hallway. It's so funny.
He has like trouble turning around at one point because he's just so big.
It's played so good too. This is definitely the viewing where I paid more attention to some of the side characters too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how good Donnie and Nick are, despite being just, like, bit characters.
Being, like, one of the few that are, like, basically main characters that don't get a title card.
Yeah, it's weird. Donnie and Nick do more than Berga and Keith, and they don't get fucking title card name drops.
And, like, it would have been really easy to give them a title card because they're in the scene where Jacuzzi and Nice get theirs.
I guess so. They should have done it, man. Also, I just thought about this, but it's like, so you know how in like a lot of anime, everybody has a different name? And that's not like really realistic, because my name is Sara, and I know like 7 other Saras, and your name is Ben, and I'm sure you know at least a few other Bens, you know what I mean?
I mean, speaking of Baccano, Benjamin is Cheslaw's backup name.
It's his backup name, yeah. And, like, you know, like in something like Naruto, Sakura is a pretty common Japanese name, so you would think that there would be another one running around, like, logically, right? But they never do it for, like, you know, like, confusion reasons. No, fucking Baccano does it, because there's Gustavo, who is the big idiot in 1932, but there's also Gustave Saint-Germain, who is the vice president of the Daily Days. There's also Nicholas, who is the information broker, the blonde information broker. And then there's Nick, who is the blonde guy who works for Jacuzzi. It's like...
And yeah, you're right. Like, that doesn't really happen often.
It doesn't happen very often, and they just kind of roll with it. And they're like, we expect you to think these characters are memorable enough, and they're all designed well enough that you can tell the difference between them. And I totally can. It's awesome.
Also, Nick has one of the best moments when
he tries to rob the dining car. Is that it?
when the white suit has the white suit has 2 pistols and the black suits have their Tommy guns, and it's everyone get on the ground, everyone put your hands up, and everyone freeze, and they all turn to Nick.
Nick says the best line is everybody freeze, and whatever you do, don't move. So he repeats himself like an idiot.
And then he becomes the smartest character in the entire show when he goes, all right, I'm sorry, don't mind me, and then he just leaves.
That is a wise man.
And then also further, Isaac and Miri are the only 2 who actually managed to do everything they were told to do.
Oh yeah.
They get on the ground, they put their hands up, and they stop moving.
Don't move. So good. Oh man. This show is like, my face is hurting from smiling so much while talking about this show.
I think the best thing about Jacuzzi and his gang is that, like, they're, like, the ones that are like, really disconnected from everything else, kind of like Isaac
they're
and
from
Maria.
Chicago. Yeah, they're from Chicago. They don't know any of these people.
They just get pulled into this, and they just suddenly become a part of it, and, like, they're not part of the group that becomes immortal. They're not part of another mafia family. They're just some bomb makers who are trying to sell their merchandise, and they're, like, a bunch of thugs and delinquents and stuff, and... It's just great. It's just great that we have, like, these other characters, you know?
They're just, like, the cool, normal people. Yeah, because it's kind of like a show like this could easily fall into the trap of, like, everybody who's immortal gets to do cool shit. Kind of like in DBZ, where it's like everybody who's a Saiyan gets to be cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could easily fall into that trap again, where it's like only the immortals are doing cool shit. But, like... all of the truly cool moments in Baccano, except for Firo, who has a lot of really cool stuff, but, like, all of the really, really cool moments in Baccano belong to mortals. Like, Lad stays immortal. Jacuzzi and his crew, none of them ever become immortal. Actually, one of Jacuzzi's descendants is in a later novel set in 2002.
Oh, that's cool.
Actually, I learned while getting ready for this episode that, Yen Press, I think, licensed all of the novels in English, and I think you can buy, if not all of them right now, then most of them. I might do that.
I might buy a few of them just to, like, my only fear is that, like, I hope the writing style.
Yeah, that's the problem with translating light novels to English, is that it doesn't really work.
Yeah, it doesn't work the same way, like, a script works, you know? Like, you can't... I'm worried, like, the tone won't be the same. Like, and, like, you can translate tone from a show to, like, written word. Like, based on just your word choice and all that.
Yeah, it's like best original screenplay.
Yeah. I'm just worried that, like, it won't feel the same, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally understand.
But I'll get one and I'll give it a shot.
I might buy just to see how the writing goes, and because it's so different from the light novels, I might buy the 1932 light novel, and see that one, like, see how that one reads. And if it is good, then I'll probably, buy the rest of them, because I've always liked Baccano. And like, I waited years to get, like, official translations for the light novels.
Like the you know what the thing that will decide it is read the dialogue and can you hear the voices?
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. We'll see. We'll see how that rolls.
Yeah.
But
no, it's just like I like Jacuzzi's gang for a lot of the same reason I usually like the character that is, like, the third strongest in the group, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. I get what you mean.
I like the bronze medals.
Resourceful. Yeah, well, those guys always have the most interesting arcs, because they have to rely on being more resourceful, or power of friendship, or they're kind of propelled by, like, pure charisma alone, which is kind of all three of what Jacuzzi's got going for him. Jacuzzi is just kind of protected by his giant heart of solid gold, is what it is. He's bulletproof because his heart is gold.
In the bonus OVA, like, he's like, hey, Chane's in our group. Has she ever said anything to you? No. But
she's my friend now.
She's with us now.
And he's so good. He's so good in that whole OVA. It's like, the OVA is really good because it's just like, it's just more Baccano.
Yeah, and again, like, it focuses again on, like, the other guys, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it is mostly about Jacuzzi and Chane and one other guy who I don't know if we should talk. Should we do that now? Because I feel like
okay, but we'll preface this with Baccano is an amazing series, and if you haven't checked it out, find a way to check it out. And do that, whether you buy the DVDs or the Blu-rays, or you find a website where they fall off the back of a truck and you get them.
Yeah.
If you wanna live that mafia life and bootleg it. I mean,
do it.
That's what you do. So we're gonna talk now about a character that exists entirely as a spoiler.
Yeah, it's crazy. We've just talked for an hour and we haven't really spoiled that much. Like a couple, like with some gags, but like huge plot points, not so much. You know, like all of the plot points we've talked about have been in the OP.
We're gonna do that, and we're gonna talk about it. This character, you literally cannot say a word about this character without spoiling something.
Without spoiling everything. So if you like what we just talked about for an hour, you know, go do your thing. If you gotta pirate it, the Gorge does not condone piracy, but if you gotta do what you gotta do, then, you know,
we're not gonna say anything.
Yeah, no, we're not gonna. What are we, cops? We love mafia stories. No. So yeah, that being said, the other greatest character is Claire Stanfield, 100%. Claire is other than Isaac and Miria, Claire is the best character in the show. He is the thing that makes this show so fucking magnetic. And he's not even in the OP. Actually, that's not true. He is in the OP.
Well, yeah, he is, and that's the best part, is that,
that's the genius of it.
Again, you can't say anything about this character to the point where even the writers knew, and this is in Japan, where Japan doesn't care about spoilers.
It's true.
And so, fucking, they hide who Claire Stanfield is in the opening, because you're not supposed to know until episode 9.
Is it really until episode 9?
Yeah!
That Claire finally, like, shows his hand to be who he is? Oh my god. God, this show really does fly by, doesn't it?
Right?
God, I felt like it was way earlier, but no, it is episode 9. So, like, the show, if you're still listening, the show, like, in the first 2 episodes, has this young conductor get murked by another conductor. And you're like, he was kind of... And I do remember this feeling. Like, I remember watching this show and, like, viscerally being like, he was kind of cute. That kind of sucks. He had a cute design, but he didn't seem, like, important.
Right.
Like, they do a great job. And I think that's kind of why characters like the old woman, like Tony, a lot of, like nobody, like Goose, stuff like that, like nobody incidental characters, you kind of go like, why do these guys have so many lines even though they're not important? And it is, I believe, entirely to get you comfortable with the idea that unimportant characters can have screen time. So that you think the young conductor is an unimportant character who just gets a lot of screen time to establish tone, right?
That totally makes sense, because the whole reason that the young conductor as a character exists is to show that the white suits, or no, the
it's the white suits.
Yeah, the white suits
no, it's the black suits. Yeah,
yeah, the black suits have a plan for the train, and the older conductor is in on it. There's that bit where they, you know, Tony gets killed, you know, he gets dragged off.
Yeah. And
then the scene where the older conductor has a gun on the young conductor.
Yeah. Oh, that's another line I have super memorized where he says, I'm sorry to have to break it to you. By the way, that's King Bradley from Full Metal Alchemist. That's his voice actor. He says, I'm sorry to have to break it to you like this, kid, but there is no way to be spared. And you're like, oh shit, he just got killed.
And that line exists, that whole scene exists to reflect Isaac and Miria doing their bit about the rail tracer.
Yep.
And then you get the scene with the conductors where it's like, oh wait, there actually is something going on here.
Right.
And then that's supposed to be it.
It's supposed to just establish a tone. The idea that the white suits or the black suits, it's fucking with me because the conductors are wearing white.
Yeah.
But the black suits are willing to do anything, and there's also like a weird fucking monster going on because there's 2 horribly mangled bodies. Also, it's pretty great that Dune has red hair.
Yeah, the reason that Dune and Claire look similar is to set that up for you.
Is to set that up. So you think the young conductor got, one guy got shot and one guy got torn apart by the rail tracer, and you're like, oh, okay, that tracks. And then like a billion episodes later, the young conductor kicks a gun out of this guy's hand and is like, ha! Psych, I'm the best character in this show with just a handful of episodes left to go.
Well, and that's the thing is, the reason that Dune gets his face torn off is so that you don't know, because you forget that Dune even exists as a character. Because
he's such a nothing character. You're just like, oh, they killed that conductor guy, and then you don't even think about it again.
Yeah, and then this starts happening, and it's like, oh, fuck. Oh shit.
Fuck. It's so good.
And then it's the reveal of one of the candidates for main character.
Yeah, basically. That's what it is.
9 episodes in.
It takes 9 episodes. They kind of briefly drop all the way back in episode 1. Right before Luck and Firo get murked in the bookshop, Luck goes, oh yeah, I called in Vino. And then Firo goes, oh, Claire's coming to town? And that's it. They never bring that character up again. And you don't even think about it. Plus, you don't even know. And then suddenly, it's like, oh, there's Claire. Oh,
there is Claire.
Oh, there's Claire. And like, from that moment on, like, Claire is, if fucking Isaac and Miria aren't stealing every scene they're in, then Jerry Jewell and Claire Stanfield are just demolishing every scene. Claire is so fucking magnetic and just cool. Like, even when he's being a complete fucking psychopath, like when he's torturing Chez. Like...
Which is hilarious. Again, FMA, that's just Al and Barry the Chopper hanging out again.
Oh, yeah, that's right. This shit just makes you want to rewatch FMA.
It's hilarious that, I was thinking about, like, because I reminded it's Jerry Jewell and I want to hear his voice again. So I was looking up clips of Barry the Chopper, and it's like, Al fucking spends that entire battle clowning on Barry. And then you get to Baccano, where Chez could not be more terrified of Claire.
And speaking of people just clowning on people, like, boy, Claire just... They do such a good job of making you really question, like, this guy could maybe be God, you know?
Right? Like his whole thing is, like, you think he's an immortal, but he's not. No. He just thinks he will never die.
He's just that self-assured. Claire is the ultimate character where you kind of go like, God, I kind of wish I was him.
A little bit, yeah.
If you had like a 10th of Claire Stanfield's confidence, you would be unstoppable. And he's like the most anime character in the show, like 100%. I kind of think that's why you could never do a live action Baccano.
I
don't think you could really sell Claire's like weird, unsettling nature in live action.
I don't know. I think you could, because I think... So, you know what? The thing is, I think a lot of Claire's fear, like his abilities, mostly stem from other characters' perceptions of him. Yeah. Because again, he has the monstrous form as the rail tracer, but that's because it's dark and no one knows what's going on, and you know they're perceiving him as that. I think you can just make a guy that is very acrobatic and good at fighting, right? And just thinks he's invincible.
You would just need somebody insanely charismatic to pull that character off. That's the hard part. Is like, Jerry Jewell has a great voice, but the animation is also kind of like what really sells it, because they really, every time Claire's on screen, it's like, did somebody add $7,000 to the budget?
Yeah, Claire did.
Yeah, Claire. He willed it into existence, you're right. Yeah.
Oh my god, that would have been such like a great way to like really emphasize it, as if Claire is his entire appearance is like noticeably higher budget than everyone else's.
There are certain scenes where that is the case.
No, but like not just like scenes, just like him entirely. Like if he's just standing around, he's like Saitama. Like if Saitama were always in like serious mode, but everyone else is in goofball mode.
Oh my god, that's awesome. Yeah, man. No, Claire rules. Claire introduced me to the concept of solipsism. Literally, I had never even heard of it until I watched Baccano. And it's like I was reading about the show and someone's like, oh, Claire's a solipsist. I'm like, what the fuck is that? And it's you think you're the only person in the world who's real. Which is cool, but again, I could never have that kind of confidence.
Oh no, that's like scary almost.
Yeah. It's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
But Claire just kind of rolls with it. He's just like, yeah, I'm the only person to exist, but that doesn't mean I want to mistreat the people who live in my world. Which is neat. And just, you know, he is 100% just a goddamn psychopath, and he really, really enjoys running people's hands over train tracks. Would you please stop?
He really likes to use trains as a weapon.
It is so oddly specific, and yet it just kind of works. It's like, oh, that would actually probably hurt a lot, yeah.
What was it that, he was talking to Rachel, I think, and in the OVA, and he's like, they're like, she's like, how did you find out where this girl is? And he's like, oh, I just found out. Yes! And then it cuts to him doing the same thing he did to Dune, but to Nicholas.
So good. It's great too, because in the OVA they mention a couple times, they're like, the president of the Daily Days is mentioning, like, oh, you should know better after your encounter with Vino. And you're like, wait, what? He had an encounter with Vino? When did that happen? And Nicholas is like, I don't want to talk about it. And then it shows it, and you're like, oh, that's why. Okay.
Yeah, so okay, good. That makes sense then.
That actually, like, extremely tracks. Okay. And it's fun, too, because he does it. Claire operates on his own twisted sense of justice, and he mentions very specifically that, like, hey, I heard you put this nice young girl in harm's way just so you could learn some information about the Gandors and the Runarada. How about you and I go for a ride, buddy? Man, he's so cool. Every scene he's in, he's just the coolest guy, and it's like you would think a character like that would get like tiresome after a while,
right?
You know?
But he's so like if he was in a series where the other characters also didn't act like that, it would be tiresome. But Claire is just the biggest and most bombastic out of a cast of these really bombastic characters. Like him and Lad going at it was great.
That is some of the best. Just sparking energy between two characters, just that back and forth of two people who hate each other.
Like, I almost wish that, like, Claire didn't I wish that Lua didn't get involved.
Yeah.
Because I just wanted to see the culmination of their fight, you know?
I really just wanted to see those two, like, just go at it, right?
You know, because, like, you know that Lad is going to lose.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you want to see him earn that L, you know?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And it kind of feels like if Lad could have been given that chance, Lad is such a force of nature in his own right that you almost think that he could really give Claire a run for his money. Mm-hmm. Because Lad is the only other person in Baccano who is so self-assured of, like, his belief in the world, and, you know?
Like, it's so perfect because Lad has that whole thing about, I love killing people who have no idea they're going to die.
Yeah, yeah.
Who think people who think they're not going to die are the ones that he loves killing the most. Mm-hmm. And then here's Claire, who is literally saying, I can never die.
I will never die. Yeah. Oh, man. It's so good. It's just you really, and I don't think, what sucks is that I don't think in any of the novels they ever encounter each other again. That was it was a two ships passing in the night deal, you know? I know! It's like you really, really wanted to see the rest of that. I would love someday for them to contrive a reason for those two to fight each other, because...
Are they still making the novels, or is the series
done?
Oh,
no, they're still making the novels, yeah.
Oh.
One came out, like, last year.
Oh, nice! Awesome! Yeah. That's really cool, then.
They, it was either last year, the year, maybe 2016. I can't remember when the last novel came out, but it was pretty recently. And they had, like, a kind of a... I guess since we're kind of deep in spoiler land right now. Apparently Ferme isn't dead. The guy that tortured Ches.
What?
I know!
How?
I have to read that. I don't know!
Maybe the anime changed that scene? Maybe? Because, like, Ches ate him.
He is pretty aggressively eaten, right?
Yeah, we saw it, so maybe the anime... Because, like, I know the anime is, like... almost perfect adaptation, but like some of the Daily Days characters get combined into one character, right? And like a few incidental things were slightly changed for
all of 1932, but you know,
for the sake of pacing and like having a conclusion. But like I've heard beyond that, like it's fairly like a 1-to-1 like adaptation. Yeah.
I think it's just that the light novel was just Ches saying, "Hey, I ate Ferme." Mm-hmm. But then, like, they never really... I don't think it ever goes in depth. It's just Ches says it. And then the anime shows it. And then later, the light novels... I don't know. I don't know how that's rectified, because I don't know the spoiler for that. I just know that Ferme is one of the masterminds of the series, other than Zillard. Like, yeah. Which is interesting. So I would like to read some synopses, at least, of the later books. Because, man... I'm so mad we're never going to get a season. We are never getting a season 2, by the way.
That's, like... There are certain things... I think it's funny, actually, now that I think about it. The two things that'll never happen that I'm most mad about are there's never going to be a Baccano season 2, and there's never going to be a Faith in 45. Oh, and those are both about mobsters.
Yeah. It's like... We are never getting a Baccano season 2. Ever. I mean, I'm a... Ever. Like, a lot of crazy things have happened. You know, we got Devil May Cry 5. Kingdom Hearts 3 finally came out. But...
We did get a Kill la Kill game, like, 5 years after the anime ended.
Yeah, but this show came out in Japan in 2007. It's been 12 years.
We're never getting Baccano season 2.
Is season 2 fucking never is
Durarara stole it. It stole its seasons.
I'm so mad. That show. No, we can't. It's cool. I know what I'm ending this episode with.
Like I know I don't know how much of it is bitterness that it's not Baccano. But, like, I just couldn't do Durarara. I couldn't... No. It didn't work.
It's a combination of things. One is that, it's bitterness that it's not Baccano. And two is that it's about more fucking high schoolers. Nobody cares.
The only good thing about Durarara is that Isaac and Miria show up in it for a little bit.
Yeah, that's it. And in the English dub, they don't have the same voices. So who gives a shit? Yeah,
so who cares? It doesn't even count then.
It's not even the same thing.
Isn't it Sam Riegel as Isaac?
I think it is Sam Riegel. I don't know who plays Miria, and I'm sure he does a fine job.
He does, Sam Riegel is a good actor. Sam Riegel cannot do the booming voice that Isaac has.
Yeah, it's like no, Isaac is only J. Michael Tatum in my mind because he's just so damn good. Actually, it was a huge problem to transition from Baccano. I think I watched Baccano first, and then I watched Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I did, because when Baccano was airing... God, this is going to make your brain hurt. When Baccano was airing, the manga for Full Metal Alchemist hadn't even ended yet.
No, it hadn't.
Nope.
It ended in, 2011, I think?
No, I was in... I think it ended in, 09 or 10, something like that.
That sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah, I was still living in Florida when it ended. So at least back then. So yeah, I actually watched Baccano first, and then I watched Brotherhood dubbed. I never watched Brotherhood subbed. I didn't watch it when it was airing. Because again, it's one of those dubs. So it's actually a huge problem for me because J. Michael Tatum has range, but also has a very distinctive voice. Anyways, the point I'm trying to make is that J. Michael Tatum plays Scar in Brotherhood, and that's a weird transition for anybody.
It's like a lot of these characters, like because they're playing kind of the same sort of character.
Yeah.
Like Maxie Whitehead is playing a small child again, and Jerry Jewell is playing a serial killer. It's like, okay, yeah, that clicks.
That tracks.
Isaac and Scar could not be more different.
More different. And it works.
I mean, yeah, because J. Michael Tatum has a very booming, deep voice that is good for serious roles.
Yeah. But it was very weird the first time around. It was very, very weird the first time. I'm like, Isaac, why are you in such a bad mood? Yeah, so it's just the weirdness of that. Jesus, that was a huge tangent.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, it's just like Baccano. It just kind of jumps around.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I think that's, like, what they do is they do a really good job of jumping around, but also, like, again, the title screen helps because you get to know every character's name, and they're all kind of in the same group.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So it gets easier to, like, keep track of what's happening.
There isn't too much crossover. The only consistent thing, and actually, I think that's part of why 1932 is such a drag, is because Isaac and Miria aren't in it because they're off somewhere else.
Where would they be in 1930? They would probably just be hanging out with Firo and Ennis.
Yeah, they are, because that's, like I said, the OVA happens concurrently with Luck and Eve's thing. And yeah, that's so the domino sequence, which, by the way, the whole domino sequence is such, like, you know how, like, sometimes when you finish a series, like Full Metal Alchemist, for example, you finish a series and you go, I don't really want, like, a sequel. I just want, like, these characters
like, where are they now? Just
these characters hanging out, you know?
Right,
like, just kind of goofing off. Anyways, that's what that dominoes sequence is in the OVA. It's just that.
It's just Firo walking in and all of his friends are setting up a big domino thing on the ballroom. And
I think one of the funniest gags is when Firo goes, who designed all of this? And then Misa just leans in and he's like, it took me a while, but it gives me peace. And then Firo just really slowly turns his head to look at him, and he goes, it was you? Like that? I just think that gag, the timing on that joke is so good, man. That joke is really, really funny to me, even years later. Because it's like, Misa's been a sad... Boy, Misa has a great voice actor, too, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Like, his voice is just really good. I don't even know who he is, but he just sounds great the whole time. And, yeah, he sounds like such a dad, and then he's, like, really cool, and he's just kind of like a sad dad character, like, the whole show.
Mm-hmm.
And then you turn out, he's just kind of like a goofball who likes dominoes. That's cute. I
want to talk about that, actually, because you kind of brought it up a little bit, and I think that's, like... the kind of, like, tone that Baccano has is in 1930 or 1931 when everyone becomes immortal.
Yes!
And Misa is, like, he knows what it's like because he remembers what happened on the ship all those years ago and how that ruined everyone's lives, basically.
Yeah.
How it resulted in, the deaths of many and everything like that, and how
including
it destroyed...
his little brother.
Yeah. And then all of his mafia friends are like, we didn't want to die. This
rules, actually.
Yeah, I don't care. This is great.
This is actually pretty cool. And so I actually was texting you about this when it happened. And I think what it amounts to is that if you want to be immortal, you will make yourself miserable. Because obviously you have grander plans. You want to be immortal because you have, like, bigger plans that will inevitably make you miserable. And the only person who isn't really, like, weirdly, who isn't miserable from the Advena of Vis is Huey. Like, yeah, okay, we're not going to talk about Elmer because I think Elmer is kind of a sociopath. As charming as Elmer is, I'm 100% sure Elmer is a sociopath. So the only character who's, like, satisfied, even though he's locked up in prison, is Huey. And that's because Huey was pretty ambivalent toward the whole thing from the get-go. He was just happy to be, like, an observer. So, like, Huey's life wasn't ruined by becoming immortal. But everybody else who, like, really wanted it, is miserable because they got what they wished for, you know? It's that old be careful what you wish for thing. But then the mobsters get it, and they weren't expecting it, and they just don't want to die. They just kind of want to, like, keep hanging out and partying forever, you know? Because they're just cool guys like that.
Yeah, that's that, you know, because the people, the ones on the boat had to plan for it, you know?
Yeah.
And they were working towards this goal, and obviously you're going to get internal conflict and motivation and all that. And, like, I just think that's, like, that must have felt so good for Misa. Like,
yeah.
To just, have these guys who were just like, oh, okay, cool. All of my friends are now immortal with me. I gave
you this curse. Yeah. All my friends are immortal with me. He says, oh, I gave you this curse. And then Firo's like, what are you talking about? It's not like any of us want to die.
Yeah, and then the two guys are like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm happy.
Randy and Pecho, they're pretty good.
They're great. I love that. So, you know what the best thing about Baccano is that all these little things that pile up, like, again, talking about the pacing and the story writing, is that, like, everything is connected, and those two are responsible for, like, the ultimate, like, defeat of Szilard.
Because they light his warehouse on fire.
They accidentally lit his warehouse on fire.
But because they're trying to light... Pecho is trying to light his stupid glove on fire, and he's an idiot who lit a cotton glove, soaked a cotton glove in lighter fluid, and then was like, I'm gonna light this on fire. Oh, man. But no, I think a lot about how, like, you know, the devil, or Ronnie, as we know him later. The devil is named Ronnie. We see the devil as being like, oh, I really thought everybody killing each other would take longer. You know, he says something like that. And it's like, well, yeah, of course, these people wanted it. And Ronnie's literally been waiting 200 years. He says it. He says something like, you know, I really thought that this would take longer. And I was so waiting for somebody to get it right. So he's been waiting for somebody to do this right for 200 years. And then there he is, and he's hanging out with Misa when it happens, and he gets to see, like, oh, this is what happens when people get it right. It's not, they don't need to want it. They just want to, like, be friends forever. Yeah. Literally. Yeah, it's nice.
And it gets thrust upon them, and they're okay with accepting that. And and I just love that, like, everything gets tied up like that, especially littler things too. Again, like, all this culmination to Szilard's downfall is, if Ennis didn't hit Isaac and Miria with their car, this wouldn't have happened.
This wouldn't have happened, yeah.
Because she felt bad about hitting them with her car. That's why she saved them later, and on and on and on, and everything is connected.
Everything, it's kind of Full Metal Alchemist like that in its own way, too. It's like, everybody is connected, everybody knows each other, you know, be good to each other, and, you know, be happy, and it'll be okay. But also, fuck Dallas Genoward. Be good to everybody, except for Dallas Genoward, who doesn't deserve it.
He never learned his lesson.
Dallas never learned his lesson. Dallas beat up Isaac, and that was the exact moment he became irredeemable in my eyes. I'm just like, man, don't beat up Isaac. Isaac's a good guy.
Isaac has literally done nothing wrong, ever.
ever in his life. Yes, he's robbed banks, but that doesn't matter. Isaac is no. No, actually, he hasn't robbed banks. The only way to steal is to steal from the mafia.
No, I love the bit where they get an FBI squad and they're like showing slides and these are the most notorious criminals we have right now, and one of the officers is like, "Are you fucking with us right now?"
No, I love that they clarified. It's like, yeah, regular people thought they were movie actors. And it's like, oh yeah, you would think that, wouldn't you? You'd look at these two goons and be like, they're just nice people. It's really funny.
It's all a thing for a movie because they're wearing costumes and no one would just run with like a bag of money in real life. That's not how that happens.
Oh, I love the whole bit when they robbed the mafia guy, the Russo guys in the baseball uniform.
just fucking
clock
brain them.
The shit out of them. It's like, it's really funny to me because it's Miria who's just like, just like beaning the shit out of this guy. It rules.
They steal the doors off the museum so no one can go into the museum anymore.
Makes perfect sense, Isaac. Oh my god. How are they so good? That's what I mean when I say, like, yeah, Claire is my favorite character in Baccano. But really, he's my second favorite character, because my favorite character is Isaac and Miria.
Isaac and Miria, because they're a duo and you can't separate them.
No, yeah, how could you say that you like Isaac more than Miria? That would break Isaac's heart.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes them 70 years to realize they're immortal.
Amazing, guys. Wait, what do they say? Does this mean we're constantly being born anew?
Yeah, it's
Incredible,
their birthday every day.
Isaac. Happy birthday!
I would have loved nothing more than for them to call Firo on their cell phones that they have because it's 2002 and be like, hey guys, we're immortal.
Yeah, we know, buddy. I want to see that scene. And they're still dressed like it's the 1970s.
That's my favorite part. And it's like, you can't tell if it's a costume or if they just haven't noticed that fashion changed.
Yeah. Hey, Miria, what's up, Cat Daddy? I love that line. I love her calling him Cat Daddy. They're so good. And you know they did. They called Firo up instantly and were like, oh my god. Firo's like, okay, sure.
they're so perfectly oblivious to the things that don't matter and yet totally on point with the things that do matter, you know?
Yeah, of course. That's the thing, is that characters like this can be frustrating in other shows that aren't as brilliant as Baccano, because it's like, oh, they're just happy idiots. They don't really get what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you get that a lot in shonen manga kind of characters that are just like, they don't know really what's going on. It can be kind of annoying sometimes. You're like, I wish you would take this seriously right now, because I am in a serious place in my brain. But like, Isaac and Miria, they never take things like seriously, but they don't make things jokes either. Does that make sense?
Yeah, like their whole reason, like, you know, they get that letter from Ennis at the very beginning, and their solution is, oh, Ennis feels lonely, she needs a little brother.
It's such a cute scene too. Miria is just like so sad and just like kicking her feet in their little hammock. And Isaac Isaac is so cute. Part of what makes them cute is that Isaac is like probably the more mature of the two, but really not by much, because it's like between that scene and the bit where Isaac is looking at all the dead bodies in the conductor's room.
Mm-hmm.
And like Miria has her back turned to it with her hands over her face.
Yes.
And Isaac is still just like, this is a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That whole scene is really good. It's like, oh, they really love each other. That's the other thing that you just love.
Oh yeah, they're totally in love with each other, and it's the best. And they're just this perfect duo. And God, I kind of hope the light novels go more, like, into their personal families, because I want to know the environment they grew up in that resulted in this.
Yeah, how do you get an Isaac and Emiria? That's what I want to know, like, really badly.
Who were their parents that this happened?
Right? Like, oh god, season 2 fucking never, but there is a light novel that's about Firo, Lad, and Isaac going to Alcatraz, which, shut up, that sounds amazing!
Oh, I need that trio.
Shut up, how good is that? That's part of why, like, god, yeah, season 2 when? It's never happening, Ben. But they set it up. They set it up at the end of the fucking OVA.
They do, because
Lad is like,
asks, where's Huey going? And they're like, probably Alcatraz. And like, he seems like he's completely like out of it mentally.
And then at the very end of the OVA, you see the gears in his brain start to turn, and he finally snaps out of the funk he's in because he got beat by Claire, and then suddenly Lad's back, baby. He's got his psycho grin on, and he's just like, I'm gonna get into Alcatraz.
And I want to see him. Like, the thing about Baccano is that there's so many interactions between different characters, but there's so many we didn't really get.
There's no interactions between Isaac and Lad.
I need to see that happen. Oh my god. I know. Because, like, can you imagine? Can you just fucking imagine? Like, the only way I can think of it is that, like,
I can only think that Isaac and Lad would like each other.
I want to imagine they would, but it's just, like, they'd either like each other or Lad would hate him entirely. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Because, like... I
don't know.
Because Lad likes to kill people who don't think they're going to die, because he likes that arrogance.
Yeah.
But what happens when he encounters someone who's just too stupid to think about his own death?
I don't know. I mean, fucking Graham is... We haven't even talked about Graham.
Oh, we haven't even talked about Graham, who's one of my favorite characters, because it's so fucking weird. Like, I think I like Graham just because he only exists in the OVA, and he literally pops out of nowhere, and it's just, here is a new character.
Here's a new guy. He fought Lad once and really wanted to die, and Lad was like, nah, I don't want to kill people who want to die. And it's like, oh, okay, so Lad kind of... I don't know what Lad's whole deal is. I really like Lad Russo, like, a lot. But Graham Spector is great, because Graham Spector never shuts the fuck up.
Oh my god, that man is a monologue machine. He just, it never turns off.
He never stops.
Let me tell you a sad story. I love that.
I like the bit when they're in the car, and he's like, you know, time spent idling isn't so bad. And then his little lackey guy is like, that is the complete opposite of what you just said.
And I like it because that was the one that he just fucking wailed on earlier. And it's like, you've gotten a lot more guts since I beat you up.
He knocked something loose in that guy's brain. Oh,
yeah.
Man. Yeah, and he just never... Oh, go ahead.
He's great. He kidnaps Chane because he thinks it's Eve.
Because Eve is wearing Chane is wearing the fancy dress that Claire bought her.
Yeah.
So she looks like a fancy dame. Oh, man. And then, God, Chane is so cool, too. Chane is the coolest. Like, one of the coolest. And God, everybody's the coolest in the show. Chane barely speaks, and she gets all the cool fights, and she gets the best reaction out of Lad, where she's batting his fucking bullets away, and he's going, is this really happening?
Yeah, you know what the other funny thing is that, like, oh, I guess characters can just be superhuman in this series, too. Like,
don't worry about Graham.
There's immortality elixir. Okay, fine. You know what? Fine. That's cool. And Claire is like, yeah, he's a little unbelievable, but, like, again, it's mostly can be perception and just him being a very good acrobat and very intimidating.
Right.
And then Claire can deflect bullets, and Graham can catch bullets with his wrench and fling them back, and it's like...
Oh, and dismantle an entire car in midair?
And what? Oh.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I just love that, like, oh yeah, also this is here. This element exists in the series.
Also, Graham Spector is just kind of a superhuman, 'cause reasons.
Yeah.
Because he just kind of can do that. You know, everybody else has been pretty normal, like, power tier-wise.
Right.
And then here's Graham dismantling a car in midair and cratering the fucking landscape when he swings his wrench at Lad. It's like, oh!
And, like, not even in a way that's like, oh, that's just, like, symbolic or, you know, a visual demonstration of power. Because, no, you see Lad, like, lifting up from the rubble, and it's like, oh, that actually is what happened.
That's actually just kind of what happening. Graham Spector is just, like, a crazy person who talks a lot. And really, really wants to be nosy about Claire's declaration of love for Chane. I forgot all about that bit, but when Claire is, like, telling Chane, like, I really love you. And there's Graham just, like, trying to lean around him, and Claire's just constantly, like, putting an arm behind him, like,
right?
Go the fuck away.
Oh, it's so great. Like, and the thing is, Claire's being, like, really polite about it, too.
Yeah, he's
like,
just kind of like, it's like a little nosy kid, not
yeah,
like
he's
a
just
guy
like,
who's just fighting him.
Like, just blocking him with his arm, or, like, shifting into a new position. It's just like, not now.
The whole OVA is incredible, because, yeah.
You get that bit in the OVA where Claire just walks up to Rachel and Cheslow.
Ches just runs away screaming.
Claire's just like a little confused. He's like, "What? I wasn't gonna do it. Like, our thing was over.
We're good now. We're fine. You learned your lesson. You know."
Yeah.
And then he has the best conversation with Rachel, maybe ever.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that necessarily means that she isn't necessarily in love with me.
So I did read something on the wiki thing where it's like, apparently in the book version of it, like, Claire and Rachel have a more substantial conversation.
Oh, okay.
And that's why he goes to seek her out specifically.
Oh.
Because they got to know each other a little better on the train.
Really? Okay. Man, I gotta read these books.
But I think it's hilarious.
Okay.
That Claire was just like, yeah, I talked to this girl once. She's a familiar face, so I'll go hit her up and see what she has to say.
You're a girl.
Because, like, he didn't really directly talk face-to-face with, like, with Miria or Nice at all.
Right.
So, he doesn't really have any other options. So, he'll just go talk to this girl he met on the train.
And it's funny because the only time he ever directly speaks to Rachel is to terrorize her.
Yeah, to say ticket please, and then get her to scream and run off.
Yeah.
And then, but to him, that's like, good enough.
That's fine. I kind of know what your face is, so we can talk, and I need you to give me girl advice.
Yeah, I need to know about girls.
Will you please tell me about a girl? And just the whole conversation is just solid gold. Because,
and again, it's so absurd because Rachel doesn't know who Johnny is. It's not like he's like, hey, can I talk to you about your friend?
It's just some rando girl. I think Rachel saw Chane exactly once. On top of the train.
I think they crossed paths once, but Claire doesn't know that.
No, how could Claire know that? Absolutely not. He has no idea. He's literally just asking. And it works because Rachel is also kind of like a weird, quiet loner girl. Mm-hmm. Like, Claire just got lucky, is what it is. That Rachel is also like a huge weirdo. You know? He's like, I found the only other girl in Manhattan who's as weird as Chane. So I'm going to ask her for girl advice. Thank you.
I just love that. It's just a casual conversation between friends.
No.
Even though Rachel just spent like $10,000 on train tickets because Claire traumatized her that hard.
It's amazing. And Claire's so goofy. I mean, like, that's what it is that Claire never loses. But he isn't really on, obviously, because we don't get the reveal that he's the rail tracer until episode 9, like we said. So he isn't on screen a lot. And so he isn't really, like, shown being God that often. And 2, when we see him in the OVA, he's mostly just kind of like a weird goofball who's in love and doesn't really know what to do with himself because he really wants to talk to this girl, but he has terrible chance with love, I mean. And, yeah, so you kind of get this picture of just, like, a guy who's, like, unstoppable, but is also kind of a goofball. So he can't really wear on your nerves, you know?
And it's great because when he's not interacting with Lad, he's also going and interacting with Graham, who is, again, another crazy, confident, weirdo guy who is super charismatic.
Yeah.
And it's great. And I love watching them interact and bounce off of each other. And it's just fun that way.
And then Graham is just like, I'm bored. I'm leaving because I can't beat this redhead.
Yeah. He just bails.
He just bails. And then he's like, I like your style, kid. You can use my warehouse. And it's like, you were just trying to turn him in for his ransom money. But okay. That's how characters in Baccano work.
Oh, we didn't even talk about the fact that Claire just shows up by following Jacuzzi's gang.
And he's just the best shot. Is when he's just kind of hanging out in the background. Like, by the way, I love the line where Graham is like, yeah, I thought I told you to come alone. And then Nice is like, yeah, and I came alone. And then all of their friends are like, I also came alone. I walked here alone. And then Graham is like, I mean, I can't fault your logic.
It's like, that's fair. Yeah, okay, I get it. I understand.
I get it. I also exist in insane Baccano logic, so I get it. But then there's Claire just like hanging out in the background.
I think
his own business.
I think the funny thing is that if Claire had left with the group, again, they would not have questioned it, and Claire would just be part of the gang now.
He would just be one of Jacuzzi's friends now.
Yeah.
And maybe that happens. Maybe that happens in later parts of the books. I don't know. I want it to be true. Mm-hmm. I really want Claire to just be like buddies with Jacuzzi, who is like the most awkward, nervous child in the world, and then you have like this beacon of self-confidence. I love that.
I also, again, the dub is so good. I love Jacuzzi's voice in the dub. It's so great.
He's so squeaky and then transitions so easily to like confident, like cool guy, you know? Mm-hmm. Like cool kid character or teen character, I guess. Him and Nice are like 18, 19.
They're what? Like they've got to be at like late teens, like very early 20s, right?
I think Nice is obviously older than Jacuzzi just by looking at him. Mm-hmm. I think Jacuzzi is like 18 and Nice is like 19 or 20, something like that. It's hard
to say because, you know, again, because Jacuzzi's such a wimp that like he could just be a really young looking kid looking guy.
Yeah, that's true. I know Firo is a teenager and that one always weirded me out, but Lad specifically calls him a teenager when he's talking shit to Dallas. So, Firo is like 18, I think. Something like that.
I mean, that helps fit him with being protagonist-ish.
He's main character-ish.
Main character-ish?
That's one of those lines that I say all the time to people. I'll just be like, yeah, you know, ish.
Ish.
It's so good.
We didn't even talk about Carol and the vice president's point scale system, which is one of my favorite
Which makes no sense and is like one of the best gags ever because you have no reference point for the point system gag. It's just something that like only makes sense between the two of them, and I love it. The one thing you miss out, and I really like the vice president's dub voice. I don't know who it is. It's probably somebody important. But the one thing you miss out on in the English dub of Baccano is that the vice president is Norio fucking Wakamoto.
Oh, I mean, you know, you just gotta watch his scenes then, and that's about it.
Yeah, because he's really good.
It's Norio Wakamoto, man. All you just gotta do is just find the clips, because you just gotta get your Norio in, you know?
You gotta get your that's fucking Cell, y'all, yeah. Okay? Like, you have to at least listen to that part in Japanese, because he's so good. But his dub voice is also incredible.
Yeah.
amazing. All of his lines are solid gold. Everybody's lines are solid gold.
Him and Carol being the opening and closing of the anime is really good because, like, you're immediately given to, like, oh, it's gonna be this kind of story when you get the vice president who's like, oh, why do you pick then to start the story? Why not chronologically at the beginning?
Yeah.
And you're like, oh. Like, who is the main character of the story? And that puts you in that mindset of, like, wait, who? Because it could be Firo. It could be Isaac and Miria. It could be Lad. It could be Claire.
Yeah.
But they all have a thing that's like, but it can't be them because blank. Like, it can't be Claire because he doesn't show up until episode 9.
Right. Yeah, and Firo is really only the protagonist of the 1930 arc.
Yeah, then, he doesn't show up in the Flying Pussyfoot at all.
And then, like, Isaac and Miria can't be the protagonist because they're, like... They don't really make things go. They are just kind of... They exist in the story as side characters, if that makes sense.
They can't be the main character because the point of the main character is that the world changes the main character.
Right,
but
yeah.
Isaac and Miria exist to change the world around them.
Yeah, they're universal constants.
Yeah, they can't be the main character because they don't go through any growth. They inspire growth in other people.
Right. So they can't be the main character.
Yeah.
Jacuzzi is kind of, I guess if you wanted to make the argument, it's either Jacuzzi or Firo. But there are 2 whole segments of this anime where Jacuzzi never shows up, you know?
My wife just made a good point, though.
What?
Isaac and Miria are the Greek chorus of the series.
Oh my god, they totally are! Melissa, you're a genius! Yeah, that's totally it. They are the Greek chorus of the series.
They exist to comment on what's happening and to react to situations, and
that's it. That's awesome.
And lament the tragedy of certain things. While dressed as Native Americans.
While dressed as Native Americans. Or priests. Or they're just in their underwear digging for gold in a mountain in California. Which is also really funny to me. Oh, they're so stupid.
I can just always just go back to any bit that Isaac and Miria do because it's hilarious. Where Isaac is giving some real actual effective advice to Jacuzzi, talking about the War of the Three Kingdoms,
right? And
then brings up Billy the Kid.
It's like, no, go back.
What? I was with you for a moment there, Isaac, but
And then you lost me again, buddy. Oh, man. There's a 30% chance they're both gonna die. That's it. Oh, my God.
God, I love it. This series is so good. It's just you'll never, what I love that the series is so straightforward in, what it's talking about, but, its presentation is so unique and different that you're always caught off guard, and, it lives up to its name of being ruckus, you know?
Yeah, because Baccano means ruckus, yeah.
And so it's so haphazard and weird, and it's it's one of those things where by the end of it you kind of understand exactly what's happening, what's going on. It's the thing where it's not one of those shows where it gets better with a rewatch, you know?
Right, yeah.
Where it's oh, I understand now. You understand what's happening. It's you want to rewatch it because it's so fucking entertaining.
It's so good. Yeah, that's the thing is that you really don't ever need, a timeline explaining things. Baccano is not confusing. It's actually extremely straightforward. Things happen in a pretty normal, logical sequence. It's just that they're kind of they're just shuffled up.
Yeah, it's a deck of cards that's been shuffled, yeah. And you know the order still.
Yeah. And so by the end of it, you know exactly what's just kind of happened. But the funny thing is, you couldn't really tell anybody, why you know that. If that makes sense. I don't think I could recap how I came to understand. Like, I know the sequence of events. Like, I could tell you what starts and ends 1930, what starts and ends 1931, and what starts and ends 1932. But I could not tell you how I came to gain that understanding. I just kind of knew it by the end of it, you know?
You know what happens in the story, but you couldn't tell anyone, you know?
It's kind of why it's really hard to actually spoil Baccano, except for that one big
except
thing.
for the one character. But, like, everything else is just like, oh yeah, so what happens in that episode? A lot.
Chaos. Chaos is what happens in that episode.
Well, just look at the title, and that'll tell you what happens in this episode, among a lot of other things.
It's the other reason you can't really spoil it, is because the episode kind of spoils itself in the title, and yet still you can't, like, spoil all of Baccano. I feel like we've been talking for 2 hours, and we've only, like, I've covered all of my major points that I wanted to talk about, which is mostly that I love everybody so much, and all of the lines are so good. Yeah,
I mean, it's kind of the thing where, like, it's not the series that's going to make you think, but it's going to make you feel really good, because the whole theme about this story is about, you know, enjoying life and living, you know, exciting times, and, you know, caring about what you have and seeking out friends and all that. It's just a very good, feel-good show about criminals and occasionally serial killers.
And sometimes even those serial killers make you feel kind of good for some reason. There is a lot of, like, horrific, grotesque violence in this show that will occasionally make you extremely uncomfortable. And yet somehow by the end of it, you're still like, oh, I feel pretty good.
I mean, like, you know what? We can say a lot about Lad Russo. He loves his wife.
It is bizarre. Right? You start the show and you're like, oh, okay, it's like Lad's gonna kill Lua. But no, Lad loves Lua. Like,
that's a genuine love, and she loves him, and it's not like a weird, like, kidnapping thing. It's like, no, that's just how they are.
And the thing is, it's like, yeah, Lad genuinely wants to be the person who kills Lua. Like, it's his twisted way of showing love, but also he is really explicit. He says, like, I can't kill you until I've killed everybody else in the world who deserves it. Which functionally means Lad is never going to kill Lua.
Yeah, that's what it means, and that's what that's like the thing that he won't admit to himself, but it's the truth.
Yeah, Lad gives up fighting Claire, which is easily the most exciting thing he's ever done in his life, because he doesn't want to lose his opportunity to kill Lua. Like, that's an actual weird, genuine love between them.
Yeah, and that's like, even he has that.
Yeah, and it's fucked up, because, I mean, Lad is a fucked up dude who does a lot of fucked up stuff. But it's what makes these, like, really occasionally psychotic characters likable. Like, Claire does some really fucked up stuff, but he's also kind of like a goon who falls in love at first sight with Chane, and literally pretty much as soon as he meets her is like, hey, I'm never gonna fucking die, and you know I'm never gonna betray you. So, like, you should marry me, and then I would be your father's son, and I would have to protect your father, who you also love more than anything in the world. And Chana is just like, what? But she also is kind of into it.
She takes some time to think about it.
They go on a weird first date. And then they go on an equally weird second date. And by the end of it, Chane is basically in love, and it's great. Show's so amazing.
It's so fucking good, and, like, you know what? I think I am gonna order one of the books now. Let's see.
I kind of want to order one and see what it's all about. Yeah.
Yeah. Just take a look. You know, see what it's if it's something that catches my interest, and then, you know,
who knows? Maybe we'll have book club episodes where we talk about the Baccano light novels.
Yeah. Well, The thing is, you can say, like, what are you reading? Oh, it's a book about gangsters in the 1930s and stuff. And no, it's an anime light novel.
It's a light novel.
It's an anime light novel.
We are living in a... What a fucking weird timeline, by the way, where I can get my hands on light novels. Like,
right?
Pretty easily. I can just order light novels in English off of Amazon.
We don't have to, like, fucking find someone who's willing to translate them.
Yeah, no, we just live... People got paid. Somebody got paid and translated all of the Baccano novels.
Someone's like, oh, we can make money off of these, too, actually.
Crazy. What a strange time to be alive.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we good?
I think we're good. Baccano is such a fucking great series. And
Baccano is such a fucking good... Oh, one other thing I guess we gotta say is that you brought it up, and then we kind of did that thing where we changed subjects really fast, but I do love that the OVA changed it so that the show is bookended by Carol and the Vice President.
Yes, that's such a good way to do it. And not only that, it's also got the mouse, because it literally answers what happened to the mouse.
Yeah, which you never expected. I love that in the episode preview that happens in the OP, it makes a point to show Barnes smashing the mouse, and you're like, why? Yeah. And then you find out, it's like, oh, there's just a happy little immortal mouse running around Manhattan. Cool.
And he uses that as a very good example of just like, of, you know, the kind of thing that, like, you basically, I realized watching it this time is that the way he describes it is the way that, like, he predicted the rise of, like, internet fandom.
Yeah, stories never end. They don't have to end.
Yeah, where it's, oh, the story is over. Well, not in your imagination, and you can expand on it all you want. And hey, look at that side character that didn't get to do anything. Hey, what do you think his deal is? Write about it, and then draw the fan art for it. Or whatever, you know?
Yeah. It's that idea of the fun part of a series is thinking for yourself what comes next.
It's basically the show itself saying, hey, in this series about immortal people, our author's dead.
Yeah. It's amazing. So yeah, I just like that bookend. I love that bookend so much, so...
I love that they are inserted into the story because they walk by Ronnie and they walk by other characters.
Elmer, yeah, I think they walk by Elmer too, and it's like, it's good. Okay, just wanted to get that out of my system. It's a good way to bookend this episode.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey.
So yeah, that'll do it for us then. Thank you to Vista for background music. Follow me on Twitter at thegorgepodcast. You can follow Sara at radioinactivity. And if you want to listen to other great stories about psychotic characters, you can listen to Sarah's other podcast.
That is incredibly fucking accurate right now. Hey, I'm in another podcast called Big Gay Nerds, where me and a bunch of cool queer friends get together and we talk about tabletop games, or we play tabletop games, I guess. We try out different systems. We have a lot of fun. Right now we're playing Fate Core, Knights of Invasion. It rules. You should come check us out at Big Gay Nerds on SoundCloud, and you can find the links to the rest of our social media from there. Thanks. Hey, one other thing, so we don't forget to mention it this time. Yes. We are going to be at MomoCon.
Yes, we are. We'll be walking around and doing stuff and hanging out and going to the game room a lot.
Probably. If you run into us and you recognize us, we have got stickers of our logo. And if you want a cool PlayStation game controller with some teeth on it, come find us and we'll give you one. We're going to have quite a few to hand out. So if you find us, we'll give you one for free. You don't even have to,
Yeah.
You don't even have to tell us you listen to our podcast. But if you're hearing this, you listen to our podcast.
Yeah. We also have Big Gay Nerd BGN ones, too.
That's right.
You can get one of each or whatever. Or whichever one you think is your favorite. And then by the end of it, Sarah and I will compare who got rid of more, and then we'll know who the better podcast is.
It's me.
That's how we'll mark this one.
It's me. It's a competition to see which one of us is better at handing out stickers.
Okay. Yeah, so we'll be there, and yeah, definitely come see us and say hi and tell us you like the podcast, because we feed off of being validated. And,
give me validation. Tell me I'm good at this. Okay.
Okay, so that'll do it for us then.
Oh, this one's so easy, Ben. Fuck Durarara. I mean, I know that it's probably fine. I watched the first 11 episodes of season 1, and it's fine. You know? I mean,
it's got some interesting ideas and stuff, but it's just man, there's so much Baccano you could have adapted to. And
it has a really good OP, and everybody likes Celty, right? Celty Sterlison, everybody likes her because you'd have to be dead inside to not like the idea of a fucking headless motorcycle rider. That's cool. But also, we could have gotten so much more fucking Baccano. And instead we got more fucking high schoolers. I know. We got a bunch of fucking teenage. I know that it's technically fine, but every time I even see anything related to Durarara, I get irrationally mad, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I just see it and I'm like, I hate you. I could have had Baccano season 2. We're never getting Baccano season 2. We're never even gonna get any fucking Blu-rays because of you.
I'm just so...
I want Isaac and Firo and Lad in fucking Alcatraz. Come on!
I need to see that animated.
With my own 2 eyeballs. I want Brian Massey to come back and do more Lad, because he never gets to have... He doesn't really have that many roles compared to other actors. It sucks because his voice is so cool and unique. I just want more. God, if you're hearing me, please just give me more Baccano. That's all I want. It's all I want.
Ronnie, are you listening? Please grant me one wish like an Arabian genie.
Like an Arabian genie. Oh, all right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.